This is Mick Foley.
Former WWE superstar Horns over here.
This is Dave LaGreca from Bustin' Open.
I am WWF's longest reigning light heavyweight champion, Gilbert, and you are now
somewhere in the ring.
Somewhere in the ring.
Somewhere in the ring.
Somewhere in the ring. Have a nice day.
I set up a webcam for the first day because I was like, oh, we're doing more YouTube stuff. So my camera is different today, and I don't care for it. I don't care for seeing myself in 1080p. I'm sorry to everybody else that has to.
Are you kidding me? You look fantastic. I'm over here.
Oh, get out of here. I wasn't fishing. I wasn't fishing.
Dude.
No, you look great. You look great. Both of us need the little confidence boost, apparently.
Apparently. Yeah. Dude, can I just say, before we get into what we're going to be talking about today, I don't even know where we're going to start this episode. Maybe this will be a good place. I had the worst wrestling-related anxiety nightmare of my life last night.
Go on.
So it has to do with the podcast.
Okay.
And dreams can often be prophetic. So a part of me wants this to be true and a part of me doesn't. But in my dream, you and I got contacted by WWE. And they said, we heard your show. We like what you guys are doing over there at Somewhere in the Ring. And at somewhereinthering.com. And it was Triple H. And he said,
oh, sure.
You know what?
Yeah.
You know what? We have one spot.
I'm going to need you to put a little bit more gravel in your voice when you say that. Sorry, go ahead.
You know what? We have one match left open at WrestleMania. And for some ungodly reason, we can't fill the spot. So, all right, I'm going back to Ryan. I can't do it, man.
Yeah, go ahead. Because I very much want to know where this is going.
And he said, what we need is we had Pat McAfee is not going to be able to make it to WrestleMania. So we need one of you. We need one of you on commentary. But we're going to switch Michael Cole over to color commentary for the night. He requested that. And we want one of you on play-by-play. And then we want one of you in the main event at WrestleMania. They chose you, Andrew, to be in the match. And they chose me to be on play-by-play. And we had no time to prepare this. They flew us to Vegas 24 hours before this. And you and I, you know me, I've got 10 pages here of an outline for a wrestling podcast. I had no idea what I was going to be doing on play-by-play, and you had no idea what you were going to be doing in the match. And we just looked at each other and we nodded and said, we have to do this. The deal was, if either of us messed up either in the ring or on commentary, that they said, you will never, ever, ever do a wrestling podcast again, because for some reason they had control over that. And oh my God, man, I woke up in my entire mattress was just drenched in sweat, and I was hyperventilating, and all because of this damn dream. So my question for you is, are you ready to wrestle at WrestleMania?
Oh, always. That's the only thing I don't like about your dream is I would be ready to throw down and embarrass myself pretty quick. That's I am not able to be embarrassed very easily, and because of that, it ends up in me doing some stupid things, taking on things that I'm probably unqualified for, because I just don't embarrass very easily. So if it goes poorly, that's the only downside. Oh, by the way, I'm Andrew Sanford. This is Ryan Sprague. This is our podcast, Somewhere in the Ring, where we talk about wrestling, mainly just dream stuff, though, like dream wrestling. So that's man. Then later on, we're going to be talking about our three biggest wrestling surprises. But I will say, because I love this, I would like to throw it to our very active Facebook group, throw it into our YouTube comments. Who would you have preferred, people watching this show, to do color commentary and to do the match? Would you have preferred me on commentary and Ryan do the match? Do you like how Ryan's dream played out? Maybe you wanted Ryan and I to wrestle each other. Ooh. We got options. So yeah. Or maybe a like we each pick a representative scenario.
I like that. Yeah.
Like, yeah. So,
Let's
but
throw it out to the somewhere in the ring community.
yeah,
We got to
but
come
more
up with a name for
specifically,
him.
do you like how Ryan's dream was playing out, or would you rather things be switched?
So
That's, I think, the main question.
the the reason I bring this up, man, is I've been I'll be open, I'll be transparent with our audience. I had kind of like a nervous breakdown a couple years ago now where I started therapy. I started anti-anxiety medication. It is a problem that runs in my family, unfortunately. But you know, I'm glad and proud to say that like I suffer from it and I've come back and bounced back and I'm on meds, and I'm not kidding you. I woke up from that nightmare and I had to pop one of my my
Hey,
anxiety.
that's what they're there for, man. I'm proud of you for the work that you've done and it's healthcare or self-care is healthcare, all that good stuff. And when I'm depressed, I usually just argue with nobody while doing dishes. So you're going about it a much healthier way.
Oh well,
I
yeah,
give
at least you're being
you that.
productive. That's very
Eh,
important. That's
I'm not doing
important.
the dishes well. As
I'm often told that too by my partner that, dude, you gotta wash the bottom of the plates too.
yeah,
I always
we would
forget to
not
do that.
we would not do well having to live with Tom Cruise. That was one of my
No.
favorite. Like people were like, "Oh, I relate to Tom Cruise," because there was like him and David Leitch. I want to say, who's a pretty popular director. We're staying in the same house for one of the movies they were working on, and Tom Cruise would like come downstairs and pick up dishes, and be like, "This is not clean," and put it back in the sink.
Why does that not surprise me? Why does that not surprise me? Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. Oh, but by the way, like we never mentioned it last week before we get into the news. I should show you. I bought a wrestling ring and I
Hey,
have
hey!
look at that, man. It's got an official somewhere in
I
the ring
love that.
apron. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can if you're listening, head on over to YouTube. You can see we now have a official wrestling ring of
Excellent.
somewhere in the ring, and we
So
have
that's fine.
in the ring appropriately
Us and Slim Jim. Sorry, and Mountain Dew Pitch Black.
Prime.
Yeah.
What else?
Well,
Cricket. You're forgetting cricket.
yeah.
We
Wyndham
got.
Rotunda's last match in the WWE, the Mountain Dew
Oh
Pitch
my
Black
god,
match against
how
Elite
sad is
Mace.
that? Yet so
You know,
appropriate.
only kind of sad. Yeah.
Yeah, so appropriate for WWE. I should add in the wrestling ring, we have The Rock and John Cena, and laying on the ground, bloodied with a title belt, is the one and only Ryan Sprague.
Hey, there it is. There it is.
Yeah, I have my own action figure. Can you believe that?
You were asking for it. I do
know.
believe that. I'm surprised you don't have several action figigures
Oh,
that
stop.
people that other fans have sent you made out of your hair that they've collected at different
good Lord.
conferences and things.
Whew. Anyways,
Look, your community's not a fan of me. I'm not a fan of them. So that's how that's going.
Okay, throwing it down right here, are you?
Gauntlet thrown, I guess. I don't know. To
Done,
nobody. Yeah,
done.
throwing it here to nobody. No, they're lovely people. Should we? What's the news? What's the news?
We
this
got
week?
some
We had a
news.
Monday night. This is a Tuesday, so we had Monday Night Raw. We will
Monday
not
Night
be
Raw.
talking about the Stephanie Vaquer Julia title match, but that's very exciting. Title versus title tonight on NXT.
Very
NXT
much
doing a lot of
looking
cool
forward to
stuff.
that. Totally,
You watched
man.
a pay-per-view on Sunday night.
I
and
did.
You can call it a pay-per-view.
Let's start there. I'll go through it really
quick
quick.
rundown. Yeah.
We did, if you want to go listen,
A quick
I did
rundown
full
of a
review.
5-hour show.
Right.
It's just unacceptable. It's unacceptable.
I know.
Unacceptable.
And I watched the whole damn thing. But let me go
bet
through.
you did. Look.
I'll go through the highlights. How's that sound? Of what I enjoyed.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
if you want the full
What'd you love?
review, I did a full review. It's in the archives.
Yes.
You guys can listen to it. AEW Revolution came to us this past Sunday. And you know, there was like a 2-hour, 0-hour pre-show. We're not going to talk about that. I'm not going to talk about that. But we had Toni Storm versus Mariah May ended their almost 2-year-long rivalry with the bloodiest match I've ever seen, dude. I mean, crimson masks everywhere, champagne bottles cracked over
and bleach blonde hair too, so it gets all messy. My fave,
messy,
my fave.
White outfit with the blood. It worked so well. We had just the infamous heel that kind of started this whole rivalry came back. The high heel. It was just, dude, 5-star match all the way.
Nice. Cool.
And Toni Storm won, so she remains the champion. And again, it ended so cinematically with a huge black and white "the end" on like their Titantron thing or whatever they have, their big screen,
Nice.
and it was so beautifully shot. So I love that. Kenny Omega became the new international champion against Takeshita, so he's the new international champion. Ospreay had a 5-star match yet again, steel cage match against Kyle Fletcher, where they did the scariest high spot I've ever seen off the top.
I saw that.
Of the steel cage. Oof, God. Echoes of Mankind and Undertaker. Ospreay won. Awesome match. Again, love that. And last but not least, we had the AEW Championship was our main event. Moxley versus Cope. Christian cashed in his basically what their version of Money in the Bank is.
It's Money in the Bank. It's a Money in the Bank contract.
It's Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
Tried to cash in, tried to pin Cope. Didn't work out. Mox.
So here's my question, because I was only reading the description. So it turned it into a triple threat match when he came in, or was it a separate?
Yeah, it did. It did. It turned into a triple threat immediately. The announcer announced it and everything. And it was funny because like Cope was kind of passed out and Christian was like using that as his opportunity. But didn't work out. Mox actually choked Christian out and retained the title, to the begroanment, I guess would be the word, of the entire crowd, myself included. Booze everywhere, people throwing crap. It was just terrible way to end a really good pay-per-view. But that was not the end. That was not the end. As Mox was leaving, out of the rafters like Batman was Swerve Strickland, and he laid into Mox to end the pay-per-view. So I think they're heading back. He
became number one contender the same night, right?
Yep. Cool. Had a great match. Versus Ricochet, actually, of all people. I should mention that was a good match. And it sort of ended with Swerve and Mox and the promise of a championship program with them. So yeah. All in all, it was a good pay-per-view. If you want the whole review, it's in the archives right now. But one thing I want to bring up, Andrew, that happened at this event, because I want to get your thoughts.
Every time
on
I
this.
move, I'm still getting used to this camera. I apologize in advance. Every time I move, it like readjusts.
I love that.
I just not use this thing. Oh, do you?
I do like it.
The kind of warble. Like every time I'm passing through a dimension.
I was going to say either like a Michael Bay action
or it's very Severance style. Like every time I get severed several times throughout the episode. Every time they're in those elevators, it's like, whoa, I feel like it does the same thing.
I just started that show.
Hey,
so funny you mentioned that.
Congratulations. It's awesome.
I'm loving it. I'm loving it. So at this event, we had the cast of Queen of the Ring, a brand new movie that just came out. The director was there. A couple of the actors were there. And they, after the Ospreay match, super incredible match, they cut to Tony Schiavone interviewing a couple of the actresses and got their comments about wrestling. Like, what have you learned? What's good about wrestling? What do you like about wrestling or whatnot? And I'm going to play for you quick what one of the actresses said, because people are going crazy about this. But before I get your thoughts, let's play this.
One thing I learned about pro wrestlers, y'all know you're going to win before anybody else does. So thank you for teaching me that.
Okay. What are people going crazy about?
The internet is saying that this actress single-handedly exposed the entire wrestling business, Andrew. I should mention the name of the actress here, Damaris Lewis. Damaris Lewis. She plays Babs Wingo in the new Queen of the Ring movie, which I'm really looking forward to seeing if it ever opens here in the UK. But yeah, people are making a big deal because she basically came out and said, "You guys know who's gonna win." I learned that.
It's pretty silly thing to make a big deal of.
My God, the article.
Wait.
That came out about this.
Are you telling me that wrestling fans have been overreacting to something? That doesn't sound correct.
Can you believe that?
That sounds crazy.
Can you believe that she completely outed us, dude. She outed the entire industry. Like it blew my mind. It absolutely.
If anything, I feel bad for that poor actress for having, because I'm sure they were like, yeah, you'll show up and do some promos, and or you'll just show up and they'll put the camera on you, and then the AEW people are probably like, well, let's just have somebody ask her a question. I would be very surprised if she was told ahead of time that she was going to be asked a question like that. And these people are just trying to be there promoting themselves. Meanwhile, the Righteous Gemstones folks get to go in there and choke slam somebody. And don't get me wrong, I love Righteous Gemstones, and I'm very excited to see Queen of the Ring. But yeah, people are dumb. I hate to just be like that blatant about it, but if people are writing whole articles about it, like, I know you got to get clicks for stuff, but like, good Lord.
Well,
Good Lord.
You know, to her credit, like, it's clear she wasn't, like, it came off the wrong way. Like, a lot of people took it as, oh my God, she just like outed this as being fake. It's like, no, she was showing
come off the wrong way. She just answered a question.
She answered a question. So, I mean, I guess I'm here to say, like, everyone calm the F down. Like, people take these things way too seriously. She was clearly saying how much she respected wrestlers for what they do, and that she learned something in making this movie, that, like, yes, we all know everything's predetermined, but it's how you get there, and it's the athleticism and the storytelling. So I think that's really what she was trying to convey. And because it was in such a limited amount of time she said it, people are like, she literally just like completely bombed this entire thing. So I don't know. It's ridiculous. I'm sorry I even
this is the same night that the Rizzler came out dressed as Orange Cassidy. There are bigger problems.
Exactly.
There are bigger, and at least he's just a kid. I just like let's move on. Let's move on.
Let's move on to some positive things going on, right? So we have
why is Michelle McCool going in the Hall of Fame?
Good question.
Michelle McCool going in the Hall of Fame, aside from the fact that she's married to the Undertaker. I think there's an argument even why is Lex Luger going in the Hall of Fame, even though I love Lex Luger. I don't want to only put that on her. I think they are running out of people to a certain extent.
Seems to be.
And I love Lex Luger. I loved Lex Luger when I was little. He had some dicey stuff going on in his personal life, to say the least, in the early 2000s, which I think gets kind of overlooked now because the man is not in good shape. He's doing some heavy rehab. He hurt himself, but this is even with the Triple H of it all, this has become a very underwhelming Hall of Fame for me.
So far. So I mean, we still have.
Sure.
They did say they're going to announce more people as the weeks go on, but I get what you're saying. Two things. Right now on our YouTube channel, our YouTube Shorts, we did post a video where Cody Rhodes surprised Lex Luger during one of his rehab sessions with "You're going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame." Super emotional. People seem to really dig it. It's our highest viewed video on our YouTube channel right now, so you can go watch that short if you want, guys, over there. But the other thing is McCool. Now, I just learned, I've been watching LFG, this reality show, competitive reality show, where Mickie James is one of the hosts, and I just learned, like, out of nowhere, they said Mickie James will not be returning for season 2 of the show, and replacing her will be Michelle McCool.
Why?
Who else is one of the judges on the show? The Undertaker. Like, what is going on here, man? Like, just like, I don't know.
I look, I would love to be surprised. I would love for people to come in and tell me, like, oh, well, no, she was doing this, and this when she was wrestling. I remember very little, and I am totally willing to be like, oh, that's on me, though. That's on me for just maybe not paying attention enough. But I was watching when I even want to kind of look it up right now, like how long she wrestled, because that's my main thing with Luger too. I feel like a Hall of Fame is like, but also it's all nonsense. But I feel like you should have a longer career, and Luger didn't really. Like, I feel like he really wrestled for like a decade, maybe less. Yeah, she wrestled for 7 years in the WWE.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
It must have been the
for
7 years I wasn't watching.
and then she retired. Like, I don't understand this. I mean, I understand it in the sense that I would assume she's getting in there because her husband insisted upon it.
Yeah.
But I just can't think of it. And I don't want to put that on her. That sucks. But like, I can't think of any other reason. I would love for somebody to be like, no, here are 3 classic Michelle McCool matches. Like, oh man, you remember that big Michelle McCool rivalry she had with, like, it's just not, it's silly, man. It's silly stuff.
It's not in the lexicon. Well,
Like,
all of this. Yeah, sorry, buddy.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, all this considered, we got news that for the first time in a while, the Hall of Fame will not take place in the ring after SmackDown. WWE just announced that the ceremony will take place Friday, April 18th at 10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time at the Blue Live Theater inside the Fontainebleau Las Vegas Hotel. The venue marks a change in tradition when it's typically after SmackDown. But yeah, it's going to take place at 10 p.m. Pacific Standard. So 10, 11, 12. That's 1 a.m. Eastern. It'll be 4 a.m. here in the UK. Interesting choice, to say the least.
The only thing I gathered from that is we're not going to see anybody older than Lex Luger at this point be inducted, because I think it would be elder abuse at a certain point to keep somebody up that late.
That's true.
Just to have them give a speech. Please don't. Please, like, I don't want them. Oh God. Like, yeah, I don't know, man. This is one of those Hall of Fame. And here's the thing. I think that I understand wanting to put Triple H in there. I do think it's kind of silly to take like your victory lap while you're still in the middle of like kind of your great experiment. Yeah, but we'll see. We'll see. I don't think Triple H doesn't deserve a spot in the Hall of Fame. I think he's more deserving than the other 2 that are here. And again, I don't know. Yeah, this was one of those things where I'm just not very excited, and not excited on a good day, and like downright flabbergasted on a bad day.
I have 2 words.
I mean, I will not be watching this, but someone will see.
2 words for you. Hardy Boys. That's all I gotta say.
Oh. That would be interesting. I would be very surprised if they did that for 2 people who are still wrestling for another company. Like,
well, they are
another company
with NXT now, or at least.
Well, they've shown up. I think that's part of. But Matt Hardy's been very clear about like they are still under contract with TNA.
Okay, that's fair. Then.
So
I don't know.
Maybe that could be part of the partnership. It certainly would help TNA to have 2 WWE Hall of Famers there, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll see.
We'll see. Surprises abound, which is what today's episode is all about. Let's get to our next story here. Travis Scott. Now, we have been told that Cody Rhodes suffered a ruptured eardrum and black eye from Travis Scott, and WWE talent apparently are not happy. So let me go ahead and read this quick. Travis Scott's inclusion in John Cena's heel turn segment has largely been criticized, with many questioning why he was involved with The Rock's entrance to begin with. But most of the criticism directed at him is because he reportedly injured Cody Rhodes, allegedly with a black eye and a ruptured eardrum. Many feel he should never have been involved, including WWE stars Steve Richards and Bully Ray. Here's what Steve Richards had to say, Andrew.
Please tell me what Stevie Richards has to say about this.
I can't wait to hear what Right to Censor has to say. You did some very arrogant, selfish, and dare I say, you took advantage of Cody and what should have happened and what I wish would have happened. We're off the air, guys, and Cody got up and started beating the shit out of Travis Scott. He's an asshole. I mean, what a jerk move to do. Travis Scott, you're an asshole.
Is this a work? Like, are they being serious?
No, I don't. I think he's being serious. But here's another one for you. Bully Ray.
There's so many things in today's episode that are giving Simpsons local man thinks wrestling is real stuff, and I don't understand it. But please keep going. Go ahead.
Bully Ray over on Busted Open said he deserves to have his jaw shattered and wired shut.
What are we
He
talking about?
He
Sorry,
decided
keep
that
going.
he's gonna look at some tough guy in front of the world, look like some tough guy in front of the world. You've got one coming, Travis. I hope it's from Cody. If it's not from him, I hope I never see you.
It has to be a work. It has to be. It has to be. Do they think he just wandered in there? These two men who have worked for the WWE, who have worked for different wrestling companies, think that he was like just went off script and decided to hit somebody? If that was the case, okay, I guess. But everything I've seen has been about how he's been rehearsing backstage, and
Right.
I doubt Cody Rhodes would let that. It just seems dumb. This is another thing where I'm just like, this is dumb. What are you guys talking about?
I know. And I don't think it's a work, man. I think they both just have some weird like disdain for this guy. Like, of course, I too was like, why is Travis Scott here? But this segment has grown on me so much.
Yes.
And here's another thing. Travis Scott actually responded to Bully Ray, and he said, I'd slap the shit out of Bully like I slapped Cody. And
yeah, it's got to be a work. It's got to be a work then. I feel like
that's all I needed to
or
hear.
he's just trying to get some
it.
other heat. Yeah.
I love it. So I don't know, man. I think people are taking this whole Travis Scott thing like like you said, way too seriously. It happened. I think it enhanced the segment. I mean, they were saying this ruined what could have been a historic moment. It's a historic moment because John Cena turned heel. It's not a historic moment because one other guy happened to be in the ring at the time.
I think I even saw MJF talking about this and how he was saying a few brilliant things. One of which is that if WWE people say they don't watch AEW or AEW people say they don't watch WWE, they're lying or they don't want to be the best they possibly can be as wrestlers because MJF rules. And if I remember correctly, he also said having Travis Scott gets the conversation to people who don't watch wrestling.
100%.
That's the whole point. They took something. You know who did not care that John Cena had a heel turn the other day? People that I work with that don't watch professional wrestling. You know who doesn't know that Hulk Hogan had a huge heel turn in the mid-90s? People who don't watch wrestling. But then when you go on and Dennis Rodman gets involved, people start talking about it. When Mike Tyson gets in the ring, people start talking. When Donald Trump is a part of pro wrestling, more people watch pro wrestling. Like, there are some of those examples are, of course, better than others. But, like, for the love of God, this is not new. What he did is not new. And it is far from even a bad example, much less, like, the worst example of this.
Exactly.
So it's, just so silly. Like when because I had said in the last episode, I kept saying, like, why was Travis Scott here? But it was with amusement. It was being excited to see what was going to happen with this person. So, just good Lord.
Yeah.
Just
if
exhausting.
anything, like, I love Bully Ray in many ways, but dude, like, if this is just to garner some attention and get clicks, fine, maybe I can understand that. If it's a work, fine, I can understand that. If you're really going to bat for Cody Rhodes because of this, like, get a freaking life. Both of you. So,
no, I'm really mad. I'm really mad that Seth Rollins interrupted CM Punk's speech last week and they started fighting. How dare he? Ridiculous.
Ridiculous. Last news story, Andrew, before we get to some Raw and SmackDown highlights. WCW, they now have their own official YouTube channel. WWE launched a WCW only channel, and they are doing a 24/7 live stream launch party that's been going on for like a week now. And I am eating this up, man. I never watched anything WCW. I was WWF through and through. So I am experiencing all of this from the very beginning for the very first time. And I just think this is so cool that they're doing this. So my question for you is, will you be watching some old Lash LaRue matches?
I already have. I've already because this has shown up to me when I've opened YouTube within the last couple of days, and I will say I opened it to a very bad segment at one point where it was like pre-Hogan's heel turn, where he was trying to like get he and Sting and Macho Man maybe were trying to get Lex Luger to join them in a War Games match, and it was rough. But still, but yeah, it's fun. It's fun stuff. It's fun to see. What's even crazier is it was a segment that ended a Nitro. I was like, that's how you guys ended the night?
Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. But yeah, it's really fun. It's fun to see this. It's fun to see them kind of like embrace this kind of like history. Yeah. I think it's cool that it's out there. I want an ECW channel now that would have to be explicit.
Ooh. Yes, yeah, they'll get there.
And I say that, and then I'll watch it and be like, I don't care for this.
All I want to watch is the Cena ECW match.
But even that stuff, like you can still watch that on Peacock and everything. I mean, the earlier, I think we've talked about it before. There is an insane level of misogyny in late '90s, early 2000s pro wrestling.
What?
I know. I'm saying something real shocking here, but that will often be the hardest thing for me to deal with. It's not necessarily the blood and things of that nature. It's more of the just complete disrespect for women, just in general. It's insane. It's insane stuff.
It was a different time, Andrew.
It was a different time. It's true. It was 1998. It was different. We were all. Yeah, Tamagotchis had a stranglehold on the culture, and nothing else was happening. Yeah.
Oh boy. Well, that's it for the news, but let's get to what happened on Raw and SmackDown. Just a couple highlights here, because we recorded last week's episode right before Raw, a couple hours before, so we didn't see the big dramatic thing, or we weren't able to talk about what happened that night on Raw. So last week on Raw, Io Sky became the women's world champion, which I think stunned and surprised and shocked a lot of people.
Yeah. I was pretty shocked, like in a very good way. But it was a great match, and it ended well. And it was they're knocking it out of the park with the main events. These last couple of weeks on Raw.
Yeah. It was great. And then that week on SmackDown, LA Knight became the United States champion once again after defeating oh my gosh. Shinsuke Nakamura. My gosh. So what do you think about that? It seems like Shinsuke's run has been a little underwhelming, to say the least. And did you see this coming?
No, I did not. But I also, sometimes you don't see things coming because they're surprising, and sometimes you don't see things coming because you have just found yourself with a lack of interest. And I think that was for this one fell a bit more into the latter. And that's, I like both those wrestlers. I just think that storyline has been kind of like, and I like Shinsuke's new turn, but Shinsuke's a main eventer for me. And I like the mid-card stuff. I don't care for. It's not as exciting. I guess LA Knight could be a main eventer as well. I like him just fine. He hasn't like caught on for me like he has for so many people. But I love Shinsuke, and I think Shinsuke is forever underused and underutilized in the WWE. And I don't know what would change that. I understand he's like a skinny guy, so that can be hard to like but I don't know.
I don't know either, man. Like they've given him these championships, and then they don't know what to do with him once they give it to him. And it's not his fault. Like he gives his all every time. And look, like I kind of had this theory, like he just lost his brother. Like literally a couple weeks ago, lost one of his brothers. So I had a feeling maybe he's going to be taking some time off to deal with personal stuff. So I'm like, maybe that's why he ended up dropping it. Or I just don't know. Or some people even went so far as to say, this is it. I don't think they're going to renew his contract. I think he's on the way out.
Really?
But those rumors,
or he just signed a new one. But
I heard that it's almost expired, and that there were rumors that maybe they weren't going to re-sign him. But I think those were kind of those rumors were dispelled. So I don't know. I don't know. It's just sad.
Interesting.
I want
Yeah.
the world for that guy. He's just amazing.
Yeah, he rules, man.
Yeah, but let's talk about what happened this week on Raw. I just burped mid-sentence. Apologies to our listeners.
Brag.
We had Io Sky coming out, and she's going to give this big speech. What'd you think? What'd you think?
I loved this segment.
Oh my god, it was
'cause
amazing.
It was great, and wrestling is so rarely naturally funny. Like, it's very rare, and I stand by that. Wrestlers are usually not very funny. Their sense of humor is not very funny, and the comedy writing for the shows are usually not very funny. There were several times last night where I laughed quite a bit. One of those was a backstage segment with Chad Gable, because he's a very funny person and he does that well. That was great. That whole segment was great. Io getting pushed aside 2 different times was one of the funniest things that WWE has done in quite some time. Like, it was so simple. The camera was perfectly placed. She reacted perfectly. The Bianca and Rhea reacted perfectly. I loved that. I loved it.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, to walk through the segment, she was out there to like give her speech, like, thank you, I'm the new champion.
Yeah.
And
Interviewed
Bianca,
by Michael Cole, who just
Michael Cole.
dipped when Rhea Ripley came out, which I thought was funny. He was like, we can't have four people in here. I gotta get that was very clearly, he didn't even try to sell it like, oh, I gotta get out of here. He just turned, it's like, all right, now I gotta get off camera. And I was like, okay.
Bounced. I know.
Yeah.
It was hilarious. But yeah, Rhea came out, Bianca came out to sort of steal Io Sky's big moment, and Io got pissed and slapped the crap out of both of them. It was oh my god, man. Awesome. I stood up and clapped. I'm loving this. It seems like they're setting up a triple threat match, which I believe will be at WrestleMania. What? No?
I'm kind of unsure because we've talked about this, and we talked about it with Andy last week, and how there hasn't been like a multi-person match for one of the bigger titles at a WrestleMania in a while.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels like they're going for a triple threat match with Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins.
Yes.
Even though I've seen a lot of people be like, oh, they are constantly changing plans for those 3. So who knows where that will end up. I don't see 2-3 triple threat matches happening. And I'm kind of curious which one will. If that makes sense. I
was thinking about that earlier today. I'm like, that's 2 big triple threat matches to have.
Yes.
I agree with you. I feel like they're trying, and they're really taking some risks leading into this WrestleMania. So I could see them actually doing that. But there's still a lot of time. Like you said, there's still a lot of time before WrestleMania. Anything could happen with either of these storylines. But yeah, let's get to that. The big steel cage match that happened last night as well with Seth Rollins and CM Punk. Oh my god, man.
Incredible.
Amazing.
Match.
Amazing match.
It's gotten to the point too where I'm just like, I hope they don't fully hate each other. You're not always going to love people you work with, and apparently the animosity between them is very real. But like, I hope they can at least take a second and be like, "Hey, good job. That was because they've got to be able to feel it. You're in Madison Square Garden. You're doing a cage match, which MSG is kind of like has some notorious WWE like moments for it. Like, there's just so much around that, and you have 2 people who are so evenly matched in such an incredible way. Like, they're both firing on all cylinders. They wrestled so well that I hope they can at least get that between the 2 of them. But either way, I like that. I like that it had like a finish where that Rollins won, but also that like Reigns was involved and kind of helped him win without helping him. I thought that was great.
Mm-hmm.
I loved you had Paul Heyman consoling CM Punk after the match, which I love that
gave me
because
chills.
They hid Heyman's entrance from the cameras in a great way, where like we were with Roman Reigns in his POV, where all of a sudden he turned in. We all saw Paul Heyman with him. Incredible camera work was impeccable on Raw last night. Impeccable. So an incredible match, and I don't know what's going to happen next. I don't know.
We don't know. It could lead to another triple threat, like you said, or anything could happen. And that's what I'm loving right now about WWE. It seems like they were playing it so safe, so safe since Cody became champion, basically.
Mhm.
The Paul Levesque era, as they were saying. I feel like things got a little stale, a little formulated, and now they're just like, let's try some stuff. And I think everything, pretty much everything, is working right
Yes,
now.
but I would argue you can't shake up the formula if there's no formula to shake up. You know what I mean? Like, we don't get here without them taking care of business in the weeks leading up and having a consistent show and having a show that you have to have on weekly 52 weeks a year. Like,
Mhm.
you know, except for now they take Christmas off, which is good for them. But I haven't had a dip yet. I understand that people have, to each their own. But I think this is the culmination of all of the work that they've been doing and all
Yeah.
the kind of quote unquote standard stuff that they've been doing. Jey Uso still got the juice. He was he got MSG on its feet last night. They don't do that for nobody.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like it's there's exciting stuff. And I think this could be like a very packed WrestleMania. Like, I really liked last year's WrestleMania, of course, but the Roman Reigns Cody match was the big thing.
Mhm.
And now there's a lot of big things coming into this one. So I'm excited to see how that spreads out.
It's awesome, dude. Well, you know, we sort of hinted, like, there's been a lot of surprises lately, a lot of big moments. Io Sky, LA Knight, you know, obviously the Cena heel turn, all of this. Roman Reigns' return last night at Madison Square Garden. Shocking things, surprising things, things that are in the news and all that. So we thought it would be fun this week to cover our top 3 most surprising and or shocking moments in wrestling history. And as usual, I had such a hard time. I stayed up all night thinking about this when I wasn't having nightmares about WrestleMania, anxiety-ridden nightmares.
Yeah, we're gonna talk surprises. I had a slightly harder time with this as well, only because, and I'll get into it, but I had caveats.
This has to be our iconic image.
It
for
does.
the
I will
episode.
say, Joy, my wife, being an occasional watcher of wrestling, she watched some of Elimination Chamber with me, and she found it very annoying. She was like, "Oh, the camera keeps cutting to the audience every time something," and there's like these people that are like doing these huge reactions that are up front, and I was like, "Yes," I was like, "That has only gotten worse thanks to this gentleman." Now, it's not his fault.
It's not his fault.
It is not his fault, but I feel like I'm surprised. I'm legitimately surprised I don't know his name off the top of my head, because I did think it was amusing that he got interviewed out of this. Like, he got, like, you know, some internet fame out of it. And now I think it will never happen again because everyone does it. But now everybody in their brother who's in the front rows are trying to, at events especially, are doing these like,
Well, now we've got smiley face guy in the green t-shirt that's there at every single show. So
yeah, but that's different. Look, if you're going to pay to be at every single show, I think they should put you on television.
Good point. I love that guy. Shout out to smiley face guy, whoever he is.
Shout out to smiley face guy.
Keep it coming.
But yeah, we're talking surprises. I had some caveats because I have some honorable mentions, if you will.
Sweet.
Some runners up. Hello, welcome to our Patreon page. I'm Andrew Sanford, and this is, depending on which way the video is, Ryan Sprague.
Stage left, ring left, ring right.
Ring right, yeah, ring corner
Ring
right. That's what we're saying. It's in the lexicon now. So if you're here, it's probably because you've been listening to Somewhere in the Ring, and we thank you oh so much for that. But you want more. You want more Ryan. You want more Andrew. You want more mini episodes. You want some commentaries. You want to get your name on a box. Well, that's what's going to happen here.
You're going to get shout outs on the show. You can get your name on Andrew's official microphone podium. You can choose our topics and matches that we discuss, and you also get priority to ask our guests your listener questions. So you'll see the tiers right here on Patreon. Check them out. See which one you want to join. You can always go up, you can always go down,
and we're gonna keep adding and changing as the show goes on. I love playing wrestling video games. You want to play a wrestling video game with me?
we're going to add that into the tiers at some point. You want to hear Ryan and I talking while you watch the Scott Conn, David Arquette, Oliver Platt vehicle Ready to Rumble, which I'm going to keep bringing up because it's going to happen at some point. You can do that here. We're going to make this Patreon full and fun, and we're going to keep building this community that we've already started that we love so much.
We hope that you will join us even more somewhere in the ring. Let's get
If
to
I
it.
may.
Please do.
And
yeah,
it's
runners up.
okay if because we did 3 each.
Mhm.
But I wanted to do things that so these 2 are only honorable mentions because they were still surprising, but only not surprising because they had basically been confirmed online, like they had been talked about online so
Ooh.
much. And the first one of those in my life was Undertaker's return and his American Badass form.
Okay. All right.
I remember that being, and it was still surprising. I was so excited to I begged my parents for us to get the pay-per-view that weekend. We ended up watching it, and it was like, it still blew my mind because it was more that he was returning. Nobody knew that he was going to come out in a duster and on a motorcycle and stuff.
Right.
But it had gotten online. Like people, like that was one of the first things in my life where I learned about it online before it happened at an event because it had gotten out there.
Okay.
More recently, both returns of CM Punk, both at AEW and WWE. Those were essentially foregone conclusions. Both times they had gotten online so much.
To my dismay, I remember how much I hated Punk when he first came back to WWE,
Look,
and now
we all
he's
grow
like
and
my
change.
favorite. Yeah,
And to be fair, at least with his WWE return, like I remember the AEW, they couldn't keep a lid on it to the point where he started the show. His return is what kicked off Dynamite. Dynamite starts, his music hits, and it was still incredibly exciting. WWE, it was the end of the night, but what I appreciate is they put on the little like copyright chyron at the bottom to throw people off. They were like, all right, here we go. Now we're going to end. And then music hits. So they still managed to both like make it kind of surprising in their own ways, but those are my honorable mentions because while they were definitely surprising, they were not really surprising.
Good choices. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. God bless the internet, ruining everything for all of us. Awesome, buddy. Well, should we get to our official top 3?
Let's rock.
Let's do it. I'll go 1st. I'll do my
Okay.
my number 3. My number 3 was the Radicals' debut in the WWE.
Good one.
So this
Good one.
this happened in 2000 Monday Night Raw. We saw the debut of Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, Dean Malenko, and Perry Saturn. They were shown sitting in the front row, as pointed out by JR on commentary, and then they quickly got involved in the ring with well, they didn't go in the ring, but in ring action. I believe it was Road Dogg that they first got into a little scuffle with.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah. And and Jim Ross basically christened them the Radicals that night. Guerrero, Benoit would go on to be main eventers, would be huge in the Ruthless Aggression era after this. And this really did kind of signal WCW would stick around for, I think, another 14 months after this. But this night, when these 4 were on WWE television, truly, I think, was the end of WCW.
Yeah,
that
was
these
like
guys
their
had moved
future.
over.
Yeah.
So again, this was not pre-internet, but it wasn't as big that people knew that this was going to be happening. And it shocked the heck out of me. First of all, I wasn't big on WCW. I clearly hadn't seen a lot. So I was like, who are these random 4 guys they cut to in the audience? And then when I learned who they were, I was like, that's badass. That they just happened to show up on TV that night. So that was a big shock to many and to myself because I literally had no idea who these 4 were.
Sure. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. I love that. I also think I realized I was like, oh, I feel like all of our surprises are going to be from like a 5-year span. Like
probably,
but that's okay. Mine is from 2001. I would be very surprised if this one isn't also on your list. This is something where, because I was a good little boy, WrestleMania was running kind of long, and I was just like, no, I'm going to bed. We have school tomorrow. I am going to bed. Went
I
up, laid in
remember you
bed,
telling me that.
did
Yep.
not fall asleep. And while I was not sleeping stubbornly upstairs like an idiot, Stone Cold Steve Austin joins with Vince McMahon and
Boom.
creates one of the bigger surprises in WWE history. And what I like about it is it's a storyline surprise, which I think debuts and stuff are great. My other ones are, well, kind of debuts, kind of not. But I always love a good, like, when nobody sees this storyline coming, kind of a twist. So Stone Cold joining Vince McMahon, huge. Kind of the end of the Attitude Era, and a cap off to one of the greatest WrestleManias in WrestleMania history, and the most promoted. I cannot think of a single song for literally any other WrestleMania. Cannot think of one. But those words are ingrained in my brain. Limp Bizkit and WWE are inseparable in my mind. They are
Immortalized.
they are connected. Yes.
Yeah. Forever
Ugh.
linked. Forever
Yes.
linked. Maybe
And it was
we will
shortly
see a
thereafter.
return.
Yeah, well, you know what? He was in a video game that was in, I believe, if I remember correctly, the condition for him being in the video, the song being in the video game, was that he had to be a playable character, and his taunt is the dance that they have with it, the stupid, awful dance that all the white kids in my theater group knew. What's next?
Well, that was my number 2, so I had to agree with you.
I'm sorry.
No, dude, that's why we didn't tell each other. These are surprises. The very pinnacle of this episode.
Amazing.
The heel turn of Stone Cold Steve Austin was my number 2. And we should add, like, yes, this was one of the biggest, I think, surprises in WWE history. Arguably more than the Cena heel turn. We'll see what happens. But I think what this really encapsulates is what happened after the heel turn. Now, Stone Cold has gone on the record and said he thinks it was the biggest mistake of his career, but he wanted to shake things up. He was getting a little stale with how over he was, which sounds ridiculous when you think about it from an outsider's perspective. But him as a person, as a wrestler, as a character, he said, I need to challenge myself. I need to do something different. And this is the decision they made. And the crowd refused to accept it. They refused to boo the guy. And, you know, he'd go on to even kind of team up with Triple H during this heel turn. And they became like this like power duo almost of heelish nature. And the crowd, again, just they weren't having it, man. But it was shocking. I remember watching this pay-per-view. I did stay up and watch the whole thing. I was the devil and you were the angel that night. And I just remember I turned white as a ghost. My dad was like, "What's wrong? What's wrong? Are you okay?" And I was like, "Stone Cold heel, Stone Cold heel." And dude, I felt sick.
Amazing.
I thought I almost vomited. I'm not kidding you. This was almost a vomit-inducing heel turn for me.
Wow.
Yeah. I take things very, very personally.
Yeah, I guess.
So that was my number 2 as well. So I'm throwing it back to you.
Amazing. All right. So for my number 2 is from 1997.
Okay.
Which was Cactus Jack's WWE debut. And I think the reason that I like this as a surprise is because it has one of my favorite. And I remember Mick Foley there was a Mick Foley DVD that I had that I loved. That was like his greatest matches. And he would talk about them beforehand. And what he talks about with this one, they do a segment where first it's supposed to be Mankind against Hunter Hearst Helmsley. And they cut to the Titantron. And it's Mankind being interviewed by Dude Love. And then Mankind saying how he doesn't think he can do the match. And that Dude Love saying that you might think that he'll go out there to kick some heavy duty booty, but he's not going to do that either. And they call upon Cactus Jack, who walks up, hits himself with a trash can, and like goes out. It's a great little vignette. I'm sure you can find it. And not only are JR and Lawler selling it so hard, Triple H is selling it, so they're selling the surprise and the shock, and they're like, he can't be here, and like all this stuff. And this is at a time when like they had done like the little work with the ECW, but they had started to move into a we don't talk about other people kind of a thing. So they had to really push in Madison Square Garden to make this crowd realize what a big deal it was that Cactus Jack was showing up, and they reacted in kind. And it's an incredible match that ends with Cactus Jack giving Triple H a pile driver through a table on the entrance ramp. Like it's something where even talking about it now, I'm like, ooh, I got to rewatch that match. It's good stuff. Good stuff.
I'm gonna watch that tonight. I do remember the Triple H reactions of that match. So wow, that was a good one. And a shout out to Mick Foley. Like he's getting a lot of love lately. Ospreay during a steel cage match right at the end, bloodied face, crimson mask, did the bang bang and literally said like "I love you, Mick" or something on AEW television. It was awesome. And then
Chelsea Green wearing that. Yeah, that was also a great match. Nice little street fight with her wearing the looking great.
Yeah,
I'm very high on Chelsea Green right now. She's so awesome.
Yep. God bless our U.S. champion. She's just killing it. And her cabinet is growing as well. We should mention.
Yeah, somebody pointed out how it's funny that she only has foreign wrestlers as her security, as her like as the United it's as her secret service.
And she's Canadian. It's just oh my god. I love wrestling. I love wrestling. Well, speaking of Canadians, that brings me to my number one most surprising moment. You ready? Jericho becoming the undisputed champion.
Was that Vengeance? That was it. Vengeance. That was. Oh wait, yes, that's right. Yes, because it was like who? Let me see if I can remember that.
Yep.
It was Booker T against Stone Cold and Jericho against The Rock, and then the winners faced each other.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. Amazing.
So,
what a time.
2001. This was Vengeance. Chris Jericho made history by becoming the first ever undisputed champion, defeating both The Rock and Stone Cold in a single night.
Wow.
The tournament was to unify the WWF and WCW championships, and Jericho first overcame The Rock to win the WCW championship, and then in a shocking upset defeated Austin thanks to an interference from Vince McMahon and Booker T to claim the WWF championship. This cemented Jericho's legacy in the WWF, in wrestling in general, and was a defining moment in his career. So this shocked the heck out of me. I was huge on Jericho at the time, and to see him do this in one night, I can watch this pay-per-view over and over and over again, and I still get chills watching that last moment when he ended up beating Stone Cold and winning. But
if I remember correctly, he's talked about how afterward he went in the back and had some cold pizza because that was just kind of all he had. Yep.
So this is the most depressing thing in his book. I actually wrote this down.
Oh, excellent.
This is a true example of it's lonely at the top. So he wins the undisputed championships. He goes backstage. Everyone's gone. Like a lot of wrestlers don't stick around after their matches. They leave.
Sure.
A lot of people backstage also weren't happy that this was the decision that they made to have Jericho become the undisputed champion. So they did not stay to celebrate or congratulate him. And he remembers going to the hotel that night, both titles with him. He goes to the hotel. He orders room service. The room he something happened where he like had to wait, and then he goes up to his room, and it wasn't pizza. I was wrong about that. It was actually a steak that he got room service, and the steak was cold. And he remembers just sitting in his hotel room, eating a lukewarm steak, both titles sitting on the bed. No celebration. Other wrestlers at the hotel, no one celebrated with him. Nothing. He has this historic moment. And where was he? Alone in his hotel room, eating a cold steak.
So. Oh boy. But yes. So my number 3.
Yes, let's go to your number 3.
Also WCW related. Also, and I was correct. We stayed within a 5-year span. It's from 2002.
How shocking. 2002. Okay.
2002, which was the reveal of the NWO coming to the WWE. I remember it was this whole, I watched that video a bunch because it was Vince McMahon sitting in a chair. He's in black and white and he's upset about whatever's going on in WWE that he's like, I'm gonna kill it. I'm gonna kill my creation with the NWO. And what's even funnier about that is they were brought in with such gravitas, and all that kind of like falls away relatively quickly because Scott Hall is out of it. Kevin Nash, who I like very much, just not the best wrestler, and Hulk Hogan is Hulk Hogan. But also it was just the idea of NWO. I think people really like because I think the marketing for NWO is great. The branding is great. Like they like that symbol, like those shirts, they look awesome. But like I remember recently, I think recently Road Dogg did an interview where he was talking about how DX only existed for like 14 months, like the iteration of DX that like everybody was really high on. Yeah, he was like, it was like 14 months. I would argue that NWO had even less good time like that. Yes, sweetheart. Yeah, here, just a second. I'll help you. Just a sec. So yeah. You can hear me from the microphone? You want to say hi?
Hi.
Hi.
Perfect.
Who we got there?
What's your name?
Isaiah.
Hi, Isaiah.
Yeah. He said hello. He said hi back. Oh. Yeah.
Hmm.
Who's your favorite wrestler?
Don Cena, but now I like Jimmy Uso.
That's fair. John Cena, but now he likes Jimmy Uso. Well, Jimmy Uso, not Jay.
I'm sorry,
Ryan. Come on. Here, I'll go. I'll be there in just a sec. Okay. Go ahead in your room. Why don't you pull up your pants? Okay. Yeah.
Jimmy Uso. Wow.
I know. Yeah, he's switched. I think he likes Jimmy now because his brother likes Jimmy. Isaiah was a Jay Uso guy, but don't let him fool you too. John Cena's really where the money's at. But yeah, so I just remember so my argument being that NWO probably has less than 14 months of like really good solid stuff. They were around for a lot longer than that, but what's kind of funny about that is Vince using something that was supposed to be like, oh, this outsider group that take over, but like NWO is kind of responsible for the death of WCW in a not like fun storyline way, and a legitimate, we have run out of ideas and nothing else is going on kind of way. Right. So I just thought that was funny, but it was like shocking. And I watched it. They had like, you could watch the video on WWE.com of like the NWO are coming. This is huge. And then it just kind of fell apart eventually, which I remember like towards the end, like Shawn Michaels is in the end. The NWO consists of like Shawn Michaels, Six / X-Pac, Big Show, and like Booker T for like a half sec, but they also like kick Booker T out. And then Vince McMahon comes on one Monday night and he's like, the NWO music is playing, and he's like, "You're never gonna hear that music again." And then that's it. And they're just like, "We're done."
That was the end. Wow.
Yeah.
Man.
So it was surprising both in how they showed up and how they went away.
How they left. Man. Wow. Those are some good choices. I was thoroughly surprised.
Good.
I was shocked.
Good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
I was surprised for two of yours. One of yours I nailed.
Yeah.
Just a second, Isaiah. Okay, because we're almost done. All right. I should get out of here. I got my time clock's going off.
Wrap it up, baby.
Yeah.
The timekeeper's wrapping it up.
Ryan, if people want more of you, where can they look? What you got going on? What's the happen?
I got the UFO stuff going on every week. I'm doing a top 5 alien abduction documentaries very soon, so you can check that out over on the Ryan Sprague YouTube channel. But other than that, my man, we are killing it over on TikTok and YouTube Shorts right now, so I did want to shout those out. Follow those in the show notes, guys. Yeah, we got some videos getting like 100,000 views over there, so keep it coming. Make sure you guys subscribe, and our YouTube numbers have gone up drastically, so thank you to any of our new listeners and viewers out there. And yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm excited for the future of the show. How about you?
Look, on YouTube, if you're already on there, look up a Chemistry Test short film. I wrote a short film called Chemistry Test that's pretty funny that you can watch. You can watch Pay the Tithe, which is my short horror film on Vimeo, and follow me over on Blue Sky. at Andrew Sanford. It's really easy. So yeah, there's stuff out there. We got more coming down the pipeline. We're going to try to do some more YouTube oriented stuff because that's what people are looking for. And more goodness on the road to WrestleMania. And I think since we have a little guest here all of a sudden, Isaiah, at the end of the show, we usually have somebody ring a bell or make like a bell ringing noise to end the show. Can you do that for us? Yeah, you can. Okay, go ahead.
Ring, ring.
Perfect. Thank
He's
you.
a natural.
So much. Can you wave to everybody?
This has been Somewhere in the Ring. Thank you for listening. Subscribe wherever you get your pods, and be sure to rate and review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever possible. We'll see you again soon, somewhere in the ring.